Ladies and gentlemen, could we please stand for the academic procession? Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening and a warm welcome to the inaugural lecture of now full Professor Sheena Kumari K. Pillai. My name is Zwagele Ngubane and I'm honored to be your program director on this very momentous occasion. Now, ladies and gentlemen, inaugural lectures are an auspicious occasion on the university calendar, and they serve as a significant milestone in the career of an academic. It is, for the university, an opportunity to acknowledge and celebrate the appointment or promotion of new full professors, introduce them to the academic and non-academic community and the university, as well as to provide an opportunity for engagement with the broader community. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're here, inter alia, to celebrate Professor Sheena Kumari K. Pillai's remarkable academic achievements, and also to catch a glimpse of a contribution to the field of water and wastewater technology. Now, ladies and gentlemen, without much further ado, I think we should get on with the program. And to do that, I'm going to now invite Professor Fulufelo Nemabola, who is the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research, Innovation and Engagement at DUT, to deliver the official welcome address. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Professor Nemabola.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Ngobane, for the opportunity. Good evening, colleagues. Our special guest, Professor Kumari Pillai, Executive Deans, members of the Executive Management and the Senior Management, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, students who are here, ladies and gentlemen, friends of the Durban University of Technology. Good evening, colleagues. Good evening. Yeah, a warm welcome to you all on this momentous occasion as we celebrate the academic achievements of now full Professor Kumari Pillai. We gather today really to acknowledge Professor Kumari Pillai dedication to research, innovation, and leadership within the field of wastewater treatment and, of course, environmental sustainability. I just want to take this opportunity to expand a little bit about this environmental sustainability. I think we all here, I think we all know that the vegetables we now consume are less nutritious than we had a few years ago. I think that's a fact. And I'm told that wastewater, Professor Sudesh, has these nutrients that could assist us in the development of humanity. And I hope that when you deliver your presentation today, you will assist us. The second thing that I want us to ponder about is the question around the usage of fresh water in flushing toilets. I think we all know now that it is perhaps something that should not be happening because it becomes a total waste. And the question again is, what do we do about this question of using fresh water for flushing toilet? I mean, we use nearly about, the average family will use about 200 liters of fresh water down the drain. And the question is, what do we do? Can we use any other medium, maybe free air? Maybe compressed air? I don't know. I therefore have no doubt that Professor Kumari Pillai will assist in answering these questions. It might not be today, but in the future. I would also like to further say that many of you would have passed, somewhere Professor Pillai as your supervisor, as your colleague, as a lecturer, and we know that her dedication brought her here. And I think as DVC RIE, I must indicate this, that even though we know the journey that Professor Pillai took 15 years or more, has contributed significantly to DUT research, innovation, and technology advancement, and to the broader community. And for that, we thank you very much. As I conclude, I would like to acknowledge the presence of you, the colleagues. I see colleagues that work with Professor Pillai, students, student body, faculties, departments, and partners, including the industry representatives, and many other stakeholders who will be here today. So without wasting any time, I'm really delighted that Professor Pillai will be delivering the presentation, and I would like to invite all of us to listen attentively to the work done. May I take this opportunity, colleagues, to wish you well, and may you enjoy the evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Nemabola, for those very warm words of welcome. And I must admit, I wasn't quite sure about the whole vegetables thing. I didn't know that vegetables were less nutritious today. I don't know what I should tell my kids now, because we always tell kids, eat your vegetables, they're good for you, but we're going to have to look into that now. But anyway, but thank you very much. Always good to learn something new. Prof. Nemabola, we really appreciate you being here, gracing us with your presence. Thank you, sir. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we know that we're here to hear what Professor Kumari Pillai has to say, but before we do that, we can't just call her up. She's the special lady tonight. So before she comes on stage, we have to introduce her properly. And in order to do that, I'd like to invite to the podium the director of the Institute for Water and Wastewater Technology, Professor Faisal Bucks. Let's give him a round of applause as he comes up. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Warm welcome to executive management of DUT, executive deans, foreign delegates, fellow professors, DUT staff, students, and guests. This year, the UN World Water Day will be celebrated on the 22nd of March, with the primary focus being on sustainable water management and management of freshwater resources. The awareness globally of this precious resource is imperative for our existence. But today, it's about welcoming Professor Sheena Kumari through the Professorial of DUT. As an accomplished scientist and researcher whose work to date has made substantial impact in the field of water conservation, both locally and globally. Sheena originally is from Kerala province, southern part of India, and is married to Professor Santosh Pillai and has twin daughters, Nandana and Nandita. Such was her level of dedication to the pursuit of science that she hopped on a plane, went back home to India to deliver her beautiful twins, and was back at the institute within 2 months. That is real dedication. Thank you, Sheena. After completing her PhD in India, she joined IWWT in 2008 as a postdoc fellow. Prof. Kumari's academic career subsequently blossomed, and she attained the position of full professorship in January 2023. Over the years, she has established research collaboration with national and international academic institutions, municipalities, industries, water boards, and fostered knowledge exchange and cooperation between various stakeholders. Her research contributions were recognized by the National Research Foundation of South Africa with a C3 rating in 2015 and a C2 rating in 2022. Prof. Kumari's contributions to wastewater research go far beyond the academic environment. During her tenure as the South African coordinator for the NAPIC-funded Orange Knowledge Program, she has made significant impact on capacity building in the water and wastewater sector by organizing training and workshops to various municipalities in collaboration with international experts in the field. She has published over 100 research articles in high impact factor journals, which have been cited over 5,000 times, and enjoys a very respectable H index of 33. To date, she has supervised 13 PhDs and 15 master's graduates. Prof. Kumari has been awarded several grants from various national and international agencies. Professor Kumari's contributions to the field of science have been duly recognized through various awards and accolades. These include the Vice Chancellor's Award for Creative Projects in 2022, DUT's Top Impact Author Award 2020, the Department of Science and Innovation South African Young Woman in Science Award, first runner-up in 2019. Well, the short time that I have, I cannot do justice to the contributions Prof. Kumari has made to this field. So it gives me great pleasure to call upon Professor Kumari to the stage, and the title of her presentation is Decoding the DNA of Wastewater for a Sustainable Environment. Thank you.
Let's give her another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, as she steps up.
No? Sharing, sharing. This one. Yeah, that one. Yeah. It is forward, that's all. Sorry.
Good evening to you all. So I feel honored and privileged to be here in front of you all today. The Deputy Vice Chancellor, Executive Dean, the Director, senior professors, my colleagues, my family and friends. I humbly welcome you all to once again to my inaugural talk titled Decoding the DNA of Wastewater for a Sustainable Environment. So before I go into the wastewater, let me give you a brief introduction about the water, which give you a kind of a background to the relevance of my research area. So if you look at the Earth itself, we call it as a blue planet. It's mainly because of the amount of surface water that is available on Earth. So if you look at the Earth's surface, about 70% of Earth's surface is covered by water. So, so what is the challenge, and why are we talking a lot about like water scarcity, and when we concern a lot about water scarcity. So now let us look into this particular graph now. So out of this 71% of the fresh water that is available on Earth, up to 97% is actually seawater, and only 3% is available as fresh water. And the real challenge is that from the 3%, 99% of water is actually locked up, and it is not directly accessible to human. For example, 69% of the water is actually present as ice caps and glaciers, and 30% as groundwater, which is not directly accessible to humans or even any other terrestrial animals. So then another less than 1% of water is available as like water vapor or soil moisture, or even in living things. You yourself carries water in you. So then what is available for us is less than 0.01% that is available in our rivers and lakes. So that actually shows the intensity of the problem. And just to put you in another way, so this is actually the global, like if you actually take the whole surface water and put it into a sphere or put it into a volume, like this is what is trying to look like in relation to size of the Earth. So the biggest sphere, the blue sphere, what you see is the total amount of water that is you see or that you have on Earth. And the second blue sphere, what you see is the all fresh water that is available on Earth. And the smallest dot, I don't know whether you can see it, that is the amount of fresh water that is available in our rivers and lakes. So that shows the intensity of our water challenges. So coming to global freshwater status, so currently what is happening is the water consumption is growing faster than the population growth. And according to the recent United Nations report, the population increased 4.4 times over the last century, while water withdrawal increased to 7.3 times over the same period. And obviously the population is going to increase in the coming years, and you can expect a higher withdrawal of our freshwater resources. So another challenge is that all these freshwater reserves are unevenly distributed on Earth. So you can see some part of the globe having higher freshwater reserves compared to other parts. So this actually put like 40% of global population experiencing in water stress already. So compared to, or considering all these freshwater reserves and the population growth, so this kind of a projected ratio of like water scarcity that you can expect by 2040. So in that map, the darkest red color is actually indicated by the countries that could actually experience extremely high water stress by 2040. So that includes mostly the Northern African region and Asian region and it's Gulf region, etc. So, and if you look at here, the South Africa actually put it at in high risk category. So it means we will be using up to 40 to 80% of our current freshwater by then. So obviously we all will be sitting here, most of us will be witnessing this particular freshwater scarcity by then, and we also started seeing the glimpses of this water scarcity already in our country. So coming to the factors that can actually contribute to freshwater scarcity, or maybe whether it can increase or decrease, there are many factors that is contributing to this. And when I'm going through all this, you can also maybe able to relate that to what is happening within our city at the moment. So talking about infrastructure, obviously in the rural area, we don't have any infrastructure, and the people in the rural have no access to water, and still they have to depend on the freshwater and rivers, the closest freshwater reserves, whatever they have. And when it comes to city, then the major problem is the maintenance or aging of infrastructure that is happening. Even in Durban, you can see it, which actually generate a lot of non-revenue water. So we actually losing water in the form of non-revenue, and especially in the city of Durban, according to latest report, it is that we have almost 50 to 60% water that is lost as non-revenue water. So this definitely is not going to be sustainable, and it's much more higher than global average. So then comes to the pollution and contamination, obviously can have a significant impact on our rivers and whatever freshwater reserves we have. And we see this mainly because of the illegal discharge of wastewater treatment plants, or from industry, or from agriculture land, mainly because we don't have a proper water resources management plan in the city or country. So then we talk about climate change, but this is a global challenge, but we obviously have seen in Durban and in South Africa in the last few years. If you remember what happened in Cape Town in 2018, the city actually ran out of water, almost ran out of water because of the challenges with the rain. They have not received rain for 3 consecutive years. Same way, like in Durban, we have started seeing we call like the flood, the heavy rain that is actually coming these days, causing heavy infrastructure damage to the city, and we're still recovering from those damage that has happened over the years. Then coming to the third one, called unplanned urbanization. Obviously, we can relate to that to our city currently, what is happening. Or even it's not just in South Africa, but this happens globally in all developing countries. So people from rural migrate to the cities for better life. And obviously, when there is no specific structure, or where there is no law there is no proper plan for managing the waste and resources, then obviously it leads to the water scarcity and putting city under stress for all these resources. Then again, the conflict and conflicting interest, obviously, we talk about this can be between countries, or it can be between regions, or between the politics. So all these factors actually can contribute to this water scarcity, increasing water scarcity and globally and even in our country. So coming to the water used by different sectors, and we know there are various sectors that use our freshwater reserves. So the largest freshwater withdrawal is happening at the agriculture sector. So that is in the global average. So if you look at developing countries like South Africa, we use a lot of water for agriculture, and up to 60% of our freshwater reserves is actually used for agriculture and irrigation. Then second most is globally, it is industry, and in the developed countries, obviously, the industry actually consume a lot of water compared to agriculture. And but in South Africa, we have like agriculture followed by domestic and thereafter industry, because we don't have a high number of industries in the country. So coming to the wastewater production, now we know all these sectors that consume water also obviously produce a large amount of wastewater. So for example, the agriculture sector that consume almost 38% and they generate 33% of wastewater. So you can see the amount of wastewater produced by each of these sector, which can be used or reused, or otherwise is going to have a significant impact on our environment. So globally, approximately 359 billion cubic meters of wastewater is produced per year, and this volume is actually equal to 1/7 of the global river volume. And over 80% of this is released to the environment without adequate treatment. So you can see the significant environmental impact that this particular wastewater is causing. It can have a significant impact on the environmental health, society, and even as economy. And we saw in Durban, especially because of our Durban beaches, and it actually impacted the tourism of the city, ultimately affecting the economy of the city. So this is what can happen when it is discharged to the environment without proper treatment. So what's the way forward? So I think it is important for us to understand that wastewater is actually a part of the water cycle, and they definitely can form a key component in the water cycle, especially if it can be treated properly and reused. For example, wastewater treatment when treated properly can be used for replenishing our freshwater reserves, and this is, I think, is currently practiced in South Africa, but unfortunately, we rather polluting the environment at the moment, because none of these wastewater treatment plants are actually producing quality that can be discharged to these freshwater reserves. And this freshwater, when we treat it properly, we can use it directly use for like agriculture or even for the industrial use. And Prof, you were talking about the flushing the toilet. Obviously, this is one of the area we can think about using the wastewater. Then I think, and freshwater is actually a resource rather than a waste, and many forward-thinking countries like Singapore or USA or Canada, they have already started using wastewater as a resource, where we can extract a lot of energy in terms of nutrients or even in terms of fuels. Then coming to the DNA of wastewater, obviously the wastewater is, when we look at wastewater, this is different from saline water or fresh water in many ways. By seeing a wastewater, you can say that one, how it is different in terms of like its appearance. So they are highly turbid. And in terms of chemical composition, when I'm talking about domestic wastewater treatment plant or domestic wastewater, it can vary anything from the nutrients to the chemicals. And what you can just think about what you do at home on a daily basis, and the wastewater that's going from your bathing or washing or even from your dishes, it's actually going into the sewage pipe, ending into wastewater plant. So you can expect a lot of different pathogen or chemicals in the wastewater. And but the 99% of the wastewater is actually composed of water, and what we're talking about is the 1% of this overall composition. And this can also have like biological materials, for example, the microorganisms of pathogens that's originating from human or animal waste as well. So just about what can happen, or how do the overall sewage network actually work or function in the city, and most of us don't know what is happening once we flush the toilet. So most of in the world, the wastewater treatment or wastewater is treated either at centralized wastewater treatment facility or decentralized, that's called on-site treatment. So when you talk about centralized wastewater, the wastewater from an area or catchment is collected and then treated in one point. So if you look at in Durban alone, we have like almost 27 wastewater treatment plants that is actually operational, and across the country we have almost 1,000 wastewater treatment plants that is operational. So what happens is the wastewater from different area, for example, the residential area or industrial area or the hospitals, depending on what activity is happening in that particular catchment, and including the stormwater runoff, will be collected on the sewage pipes, and these sewage pipes actually connected into a pumping station. And I think we always hear about pumping station failure in Durban. So this is what happens. So the sewage is collected at the pumping station, and once the sewage come to a level, the pumping station or pump station actually push this waste into the centralized wastewater treatment plant to treat. So most of the time what happens, and what happened after our flood, is some of our pump station is actually not functional. So obviously it cannot push the wastewater into a treatment plant, and some of our treatment plants actually underperform because of the same reason. So coming to the wastewater treatment process. So once this wastewater reaches to wastewater treatment plant, it undergoes three different treatment process. So initially it is called as primary treatment, where actually the larger particles, like I said, what are you putting onto your toilet or what are you putting onto your sewage ends up in wastewater treatment plant. So it has to be initially screened to remove all the large particles. So it goes through this few screening process, and then finally ends up in a primary settling tank for a gravity settling. So during this process, some of the the larger organisms get removed, and up to 50 to 60% of nutrients is actually removed during this process. Then coming to the secondary treatment, and from this, the effluent is then actually moving into the secondary treatment process. This is nothing but the biological process. So the waste, our waste is actually a food for bacteria. So we use the bacteria to utilize these nutrients and convert all these nutrients into either the metabolic products or some other, or they use it for their own energy. So this, from this secondary treatment, then the water then go to secondary clarifier for settling, and from secondary clarifier it goes to disinfection steps. So depending on the type of or the wastewater treatment plants, we can have several disinfection steps that is actually linked to the treatment plants. For example, in Durban, we usually follow the chlorination. But if you reusing the wastewater for directly for some irrigation or for some other direct purpose, then obviously this has to go through multiple barriers. For example, chlorination will get, after chlorination we have multiple barriers, say for example, even the MBR, the membrane filtration, or it can even go through biofiltration. Then they also can actually go maybe sit in the maturation pond for some time for the treatment, then we discharge that one to the receiving water bodies or use it for direct use. Then coming to the activated sludge process, I just wanted to give you a kind of what is happening within the wastewater, the secondary treatment process. So this is an area where I was actually involved in for last 14, 15 years. So what is happening is within the wastewater treatment plants, these bacteria, like I said, will start acting on these organics and nutrients that's coming into the plant. And this is exactly, what you're seeing here is a typical activated sludge process. So this actually has an aeration tank. Then we have a secondary settler, and from the secondary settler, we have the sludge or the bacteria that is recycled back to the reactor. So in this way, this bacteria get activated. So they become like more resistant to the higher loads of pollutants. And during this process, they also start clumping together, forming flocks. So this flock formation is so important for the wastewater treatment plants, especially when we're talking about the settling. So if there is no flock formation happening, then there won't be settling. Then it can actually have a carry forward in the treatment plants. And this is very common in our plant. Is because these bacteria can be affected by operational conditions. So we need to maintain these operational conditions, and sometimes it is challenging in the treatment plants because of the variability in the influent that is coming into the plant, or could be something. You think about like what is happening in South Africa now in terms of load shedding. And these bacteria need aeration, and if you don't provide aeration for 2 hours, obviously it can affect the bacteria. So this all affecting our plant at the moment in the city or in the country. And imagine South Africa was one of the leaders in the wastewater treatment process, and some of this activated sludge process has been actually originated from South Africa, which is currently practiced globally. So coming to this floc, the one, so under ideal conditions, these bacteria actually form a floc with the functional bacteria that is involved in organism removal, that is called heterotrophic bacteria, and the bacteria that is involved in nitrogen removal. These are the major composition of the wastewater when you talk about domestic wastewater. So these bacteria actually form a floc with the help of filamentous bacteria. So the filamentous bacteria actually form a structure. So in a ideal condition, when the plant is operating well, the floc is compact. But when the ideal condition comes, then you can see that the filamentous bacteria will start growing excessively in the floc, and they will start forming the mat on the, because they start connecting, all these different flocs start connecting and they form the mat, then the sludge will start floating on the surface. And obviously, they won't be settling in the secondary settling tank and leading to the discharge of these organics to the environment. So what I have been doing is, obviously, this is a very complicated process, including like billions of bacteria doing the job, and using a conventional method to identify these bacteria is not possible. So I have been involved in looking at, when I joined the institute, this is what my mentor asked me to do, to develop for this area, especially looking at like how we can use the latest advanced technology to identify and these bacteria and to relate them to what is happening in the plant. So using this omics method, that's almost like a new method that has been used everywhere at the moment, but this is, in this case, what we use is we look at the DNA of the bacteria or the genetic material such as RNA, or even we can look at the metabolomics or metabolites that is produced by bacteria. So this gives kind of a comprehensive understanding of what is happening in the plant. So we have so these are some of the projects I was initially involved when I joined the institute. So we focused on, which was supported by or funded by Water Research Commission of South Africa. So the initial focus of the research was to understand the microbial contribution in the wastewater using advanced molecular techniques. So in the first project, we actually looked at the case-ridden plants, and we selected 4 plants from the case-ridden region. And from there, we could actually relate the activity of this functional bacteria into certain operational conditions. And from there, we further expanded this research to the national level. And in this case, we actually collaborated with the other municipalities within South Africa. So from include city of Cape Town and city of city of Tshwane. And in this particular project, the goal was to actually develop a kind of an interactive website or interactive tool for the wastewater treatment plant operators or treatment plant plants within South Africa. So these are some of the products that is actually achieved through that particular project. We were able to develop a tool. We call it as a tool, but it's a guide that can actually be used by the plant operators to understand the process and also to look at like what are the different conditions or the process parameters that affect the performance of the plant. And the Wastewater Connect is actually an online platform where the intention was to obviously to develop that kind of an interactive phase for the plant, but obviously there was not much intake from the treatment plant side, but this has been, like the challenges, so we didn't get a much intake in this case. So coming to the third phase, we actually moved this, or we could actually collaborate with global partners in this particular region, particular area. So in this case, we collaborated with the city of, the University of Oklahoma from USA. And in this global approach, I think nearly 269 wastewater treatment plants from 89 cities from 23 countries were participated. So the major goal of this particular initiative was to understand if there is a core microbe that is actually doing the job. So if we can identify the core microbe, obviously we can, develop those microbial consortia and use it as kind of a inoculant or for bioinoculation when there is a problem in the plant. So this is one of the major focus, and I think through this project we have identified that there is this particular bacteria within the treatment plants globally is highly diverse, but there is a certain percentage of bacteria that is common across the world. So that can be used, they are mainly involved in this nutrient removal. So this can be actually used to develop the functional microbial or kind of inoculum to inoculate into in plants that is not working properly. So coming to the nitrogen removal, this is another area where I have invested a lot of my time since 2014, and this was actually done in collaboration with the Columbia University from USA, Prof. Karthik Chandran, who is a world-renowned scientist in this area. So coming to nitrogen removal, the nitrogen is actually one of the main composition of the wastewater, especially the domestic, and like the human waste can actually produce a lot of nitrogen in forms of urea. So when this urea pass through the sewage lines and before it enter into wastewater in plants, it convert or hydrolyze into ammonia. So when you look at the treatment plants, you get a high amount of ammonia or ammonium ion, which need to be converted to nitrogen gas before it gets discharged into the environment, because it can have a significant impact on our environment if it is actually be released without treatment. For example, eutrophication. So, like I said, it can actually cause a lot of damage in terms of death of fishes, or even it can lead to the depletion of oxygen, affecting all this aquatic fauna and flora. So, in this particular, so conventionally, this nitrification is done through the conventional process called nitrification and denitrification. So here, in this process, more than 1 or 2 species are actually involved, which requires its own, the space and the energy, the food. So in terms of nitrification, they are mostly aerobic process where you need oxygen. And especially if you look at the wastewater treatment plant, the most of the aeration that is actually currently used is for nitrification. So it actually causing the wastewater treatment plant a lot of cost in terms of its operation. For example, the biological nitrification of 1 kg of ammonical nitrogen requires normally 4.2 kg of oxygen. So that is a lot of energy that is going into just for the nitrification process alone. And along with that, the second process is called denitrification, where it is a heterotrophic growth. Heterotrophic means the bacteria can grow faster and they can produce a lot of sludge. And they also depend on organic sources. So sometimes when there is not enough COD coming in, then probably we may have to add more organic source in terms of methanol or acetic acid. So again, it is actually costing the plant a lot of cost in terms of operation. And like I said, they can also produce sludge, and it is estimated that in South Africa, in South African wastewater treatment plants currently, it produces 5 and 23 tons per day of sludge with an estimated handling cost of Rand 11 million to Rand 64 million per year. That's a lot of cost to just treat your waste. So coming to anaerobic ammonium oxidation, so this is something like a bacteria that has been discovered in 1990s, but it became in practice, using in practical applications in 2000. So the first Anamox process was installed, I think, in around 2004. So this bacteria is very unique in terms of the way how it actually operates. So it's an anaerobic bacteria, and they can convert ammonium directly into nitrogen gas in one-step reaction. So this bacteria was kind of a game changer in the field of nitrogen removal in the wastewater treatment plants. So one of the advantages, it doesn't require oxygen. Obviously, it brings down the cost of the operation, and it is highly efficient in removing ammonia. And the second one is it is autotrophic, so it doesn't need organic carbon. So again, it brings down the cost of the operation of the wastewater treatment plants. And then slow sludge production, because this bacteria grow very slowly, and its generation time is expected to be around 7 to 11 days compared to the heterotrophic bacteria that grows or divide in every 20 minutes. So that is a huge advantage of this particular process. And obviously, like any other process, it also comes with the disadvantages. And slow growing of this bacteria obviously is a kind of a challenge in the treatment plants, because it can be outcompeted by any other bacteria that also utilize or like to grow in the same condition. Then it is very, very sensitive to operational parameters. So if you don't operate your plant properly, then it can actually lead to the failure of the plant. And it needs required skills to actually run this particular reactor. So those are the challenges, but obviously its advantages outcompete. You can see outcompete is disadvantage. So it's been used, and currently 300 wastewater treatment plant globally has been using this particular technology for treating the high nitrogen content. So we have started this project in 2014, like I said, in collaboration with the Columbia University. So one of the biggest challenges was to get the sludge. So the first sludge I obtained from Stellenbosch University, from Prof. Alfred Botha, and he was the first person to start this NMOS research in South Africa. And obviously we couldn't survive the sludge because of its requirements, and then we went back to our collaborators and tried to source the sludge from USA. And the sludge that you're seeing on the reactor was actually sourced from USA, from our collaborator, and we tried to enrich in the lab scale reactor. So we have used different reactors here to try to see which reactor give us the best result in terms of enrichment. And this was one of my PhD students' project, Dr. Eric from Chemical Engineering Department. So this is also done in collaboration with the Chemical Engineering Department, because we need a lot of skills from that area as well. So coming to that, once we optimize this or enrich this bacteria within the lab scale reactor, which it took almost 2 to 3 years, then we took this technology to the pilot scale, where we used the anaerobic digestate in one of the treatment plant in Komashu. So this is a 400-liter pilot scale reactor that we installed at Komashu wastewater treatment plant. And the major reason for using digestate was because it has a low COD to N ratio, and this bacteria need low carbon to nitrogen ratio. So unfortunately, this particular reactor was started during the COVID time, and we had lots of ups and downs. And finally, after 3 years of operation, we could actually get up to 80 to 90% of nitrogen removal used in this reactor. Then we moved on to using this technology for domestic wastewater treatment. Like I said, this bacteria like low carbon to nitrogen ratio, and domestic wastewater is actually composed of high carbon to nitrogen ratio. So we definitely have to mix or modify this reactor and use it for domestic. So we have done some parallel studies while we running the pilot scale studies in the last 3 years. One of our PhD student, Dr. Ovis, has worked on it. And once we optimize this method at lab scale, now we have taken this one to the full scale, and this plant is currently installed at Kingsborough wastewater treatment plant for treating the influent, or the domestic influent. So this is currently in the starting phase. The reactors are installed, and we're waiting for some of the procurement issues to complete to start this reactor. So coming to emerging contaminants and pollutants, this is one area. So a number of my students are currently involved in this particular area. Like I said, wastewater, if you look at the wastewater, even you can think about like what you are doing at your home now, like what you were using in 10 years ago to now. The amount of the cleaning liquid or the products that you're using daily at home has been increased, right? So it obviously resulted having a lot of emerging contaminants and pollutants in wastewater. So most of the wastewater treatment plants, that conventional wastewater treatment plants, are not designed to remove them, because those years when it was designed, we had major challenges with the nutrients removal, and pollutants wasn't a major problem those times. So, and none of the wastewater treatment plants are actually upgraded. We are still using the same wastewater treatment plants, maybe like slight modifications, so it can have a significant impact when it comes to the removing the emerging contaminants and pollutants wastewater. So, like I said, the emerging pollutants can, when they call emerging because of the emerging concerns related to that particular pollutants, related to its presence in the environment, or could be because of the toxicity related to this particular chemical as well. So there's a large range of chemicals that is actually regarded as emerging pollutants, starting from pharmaceuticals to endocrine disrupting chemicals, and to personal care products to microplastics have become one of the concerns recently. And most of these wastewater treatment plants, like I said, are not designed to remove these pollutants from wastewater. So we have been working in this area for some time to see what is coming into the treatment plants and what is going out of the plant, to just get an idea about what is happening in terms of this pollutant removal. So coming to this, one of these projects, I cannot focus on all, I won't be actually discussing all the project here today, but just for your interest, this is one of the areas that I'm currently working on, because these wastewater treatment plants are always been regarded as one of the source for the antibiotic resistance development. For example, like if you remember the first slide I was showing about the activated sludge process, this is an ideal condition for the microbes to actually get the resistant because of the way how it is operated, because there is a longer exposure time between the bacteria and the contaminants. And this bacteria, like I said, they multiply in every 20 minutes, and it can evolve into a new strain with more resistance. And because the wastewater contain multiple pharmaceutical compounds, like when you consume, for example, when you consume your antibiotics or drugs, your body cannot efficiently use all those pharmaceutical compounds, and they release some of them through your waste, and it's ending up in wastewater as well. So either as an original compound or as like a transformed product. So this can be like a hub for all these pharmaceuticals and bacteria, and leading to formation of the antibiotic resistant genes due to different process. I'm not going in detail there, but this is the way how these bacteria develop antibiotic resistance in the treatment plants. So we also looked at the wastewater treatment plant. To understand this antibiotic resistance in the treatment plant, we looked at the influent profile of the pathogen that is coming into the plant in terms of what is the diversity and the type of antibiotic resistant genes it is carrying. Then we also looked at the effluent that's going out of the plant to see what happens during the treatment process. And this can give us a comprehensive understanding of how and what these treatment plants is, whether they actually producing new strain or whether actually they're removing the microbes during the treatment process. So some of the results from the projects include that we have found a lot of emerging pathogens that is listed as priority pathogens in WHO list in the effluent, that is from the treated effluent, and we also found a lot of antibiotic resistant genes in the treated effluent going out of the plant. So for example, we found like antibiotic resistant genes including that is resistant to aminoglycosides, beta-lactamyces, tetracycline, sulfonamide, and these are some of the common antibiotics that's been used and which is going to be a bigger threat for the population that is using this water. So we also done some additional work on to see the free-living amoeba and how it actually contribute to for the dissemination of this antibiotic resistance into the pathogen, into the environment. This free-living amoeba is very common in the treatment plants, and they actually is a host for many bacteria. So they feed on bacteria for the food, but this bacteria develop an amoeba resistance, and now they use amoeba as a host to survive and multiply during the wastewater treatment process, which is a harsh process. So we have also found a lot of amoeba that is actually carrying a range of pathogen in them, in the treated effluent, obviously, and with all these antibiotic resistant genes. So we can say our wastewater treatment plant actually contributing to a lot these pathogens and antibiotic resistant genes, and they are discharging into the environment. And we also done some works on the parasitic side, and we also found some of the human parasites in the treated effluent. And these parasites, even when they're present in small quantity, even one egg can actually cause infection when it becomes viable. So coming to my next project that I'm currently involved in. So this started in 2018. It was one of the initially started as initiative project between Europe and South Africa. So through Water JPA program, so where we looked at this microplastic as a carriers of the spread of pathogens and antibiotic resistant genes in the aquatic environment. So we know like this microplastics is actually becoming like a major problem in the environment, mainly because of the usage of the plastic currently. So more than 80% of the plastic that currently produced is discharged to the environment, and we only recycling 20% of the plastic, and it's becoming like a major issue in the environment these days. So it is estimated that up to 53 million tons will be introduced to the environment annually by 2030 because of looking at the amount or looking at the rate at which the plastic is produced globally. So I don't know how many of you know this plastic takes almost like 20 to 500 or more than years to decompose. So for example, the plastic bag that you use for carrying your grocery will take anything from 20 to 30 or maybe 100 years. And the plastic bottle that you use to drink water will take more than 500 years. That means even it is going to affect your future generation, 4 or 5 generations after you. So just remember this when you drink water next time. The microplastics the plastic can be of various range, depending on the size of this one. You can call macroplastic, mesoplastic, and micro and nanoplastic. And obviously, we would talk more about micro and nanoplastic because of the size, right? And they are present in the water environment. So microplastic comes to the size of 1 micrometer to 5 millimeter. It can be anything about like a sesame seed size, and when it comes to nanoplastic, you can't even see with your eyes, naked eyes. So in the wastewater, these microplastics and microplastic can come from either from your primary or the secondary sources. When it comes to primary sources, like I said, this microplastic can be like intentionally synthesized because if you look at your activity, at home, the cosmetics or even the cleaning liquid or the detergents or the washing powder or the toothbrush, what we use have like microbeads, which is actually of microplastic. So we actually contributing to microplastic pollution without we knowing it. So they're actually entering into a treatment plant. And then again, we can have microplastic coming from the larger particles. They can actually break down during the wastewater treatment process and can become like nanoplastic during the process. So these are the two major sources of the microplastics in the water environment. And so when we talk about microplastics, it's not just present in the water environment, but they are present everywhere. Even they're present in the air you breathe, the food you eat, and the water you drink. So one of the major problems with these microplastics is the detection, and we don't have like a specific or specialized equipment to actually detect the total microplastic from this environment. So for example, one of the recent study actually reported that an average of 325 plastic particles per liter of bottled water. So as compared to 5.5 plastic particles in the tap water. So it's always better to drink a tap water compared to your bottled water. So in more recent study, it's more, I think this is published in 2024. In this study, they have used some specialized equipment called Raman spectroscopy and combined with the microscopy. In this case, what they saw is they found 240,000 tiny particles in 1 liter of bottled water. And they screened a lot of different, the brands, and they found them in all the brands that's currently in the market. But another part of this microplastic is, okay, they are present in all this environment, and they even detected from human parts. Like for example, they are detected from human blood, even from lungs, or even from the breast milk. But its impact on the human's health has not yet fully understood. So coming to microplastic in the wastewater, we are more interested in microplastic because it become like a bigger challenge, because this microplastic can accumulate a lot of pathogen on its surface because of its reactivity. Because of this smaller size, it is more reactive and can attract pollutants and pathogen. That become like a more dangerous now, because when you consume treated water with this microplastic in it, it could possibly take in the pathogens and pollutants along with this microplastic. So this bioaccumulation of this microplastic in the food chain is known. So it actually can, for example, when it is in the environment, the fish can ingest it, not intentionally, but thinking that it's a food, and obviously it can accumulate in the food chain. So this has been reported in a lot of the articles. So this is one of the way how this microplastic and pollutants can enter into the food chain and ultimately affect the humans. So we have done some work on this area, especially looking at how these wastewater treatment plants working in terms of functioning in terms of the removal of these microplastics, and obviously we found a lot of microplastic in the effluent wastewater. And our detection limit was 25 micrometer. We couldn't go below that level because of the lack of the techniques that is available. Then obviously, I got another project from WRC in 2022 looking at this plastic pollution in one of the major rivers in the country. So this is one of the first river is looking at the Zundisi River. I think you know that one is it's a tributary of the Amgeni River. So obviously, it is actually feeding into some of the dams in Durban. So we looked at in this particular project, we were looking at the impact of different pollution sources on the type of microplastic and the community, the microbial community that is attaching onto these microplastics as well. So we selected 2 plants, like I said, at the moment is doing in collaboration with Rhodes University from Eastern Cape. So like I said, we found a number of microplastic particles, and our detection limit was 20 micrometer. Obviously, we may find more if we go further down to the nanoplastics. So we also did some kind of a microbial analysis looking at what kind of bacteria is present on the plastisphere, microbial community in the plastisphere and the surface water, and we found that this microbial community on the plastisphere is unique, and they actually form a different kind of a cluster compared to the community in the surface water. And also, we found a correlation between this type of, the pollution to the type of microplastic and the type of community that is attaching on to these microplastics. So these are some of the results, and this project is actually ongoing. And coming to some of the industry-linked project I was involved, I think this is also something important where we like to just say that we do some kind of a research that is more impactful for the municipality or for the community. So in this particular project, I actually worked as a project coordinator for South Africa, and it is done in collaboration with the Netherlands. So the major focus of this research was to actually train the water sector of South Africa, and both the municipality and the university. So there were 5 partners actually involved from both the countries. From South Africa, we had 2 leading universities, obviously DUT and UCT, and the DUT leading from the South African side with a few municipalities, including South African Local Government Association. And from the Netherlands side, World Water Academy was leading this particular project, and along with TU Delft, who is actually number 4 in terms of water treatment technologies globally. So we actually did provided training through 2 different modes. For example, training was provided to wastewater treatment plant operators in terms of basics and advanced wastewater treatment. And again, this project was done during the COVID time, so we usually used both the contact classes and the digital, and we were able to train almost over 282 plant operators during this, through this training program. And in the Living Lab, we focused here more on capacity building in the municipality. So here, both undergraduate and postgraduate students from South Africa and Netherlands participated. So they were given a project that is of relevance, and they give opportunity to interact with the municipality and the community to find solutions to those challenges. So these are some of the work package photos that we have taken during the training program, and the training was mainly provided by World Water Academy, which was coordinated through DUT. And coming to the wastewater-based epidemiology, I think most of you all know about this particular area by now. During the COVID time, we have invested a lot of time on this particular area. The wastewater can also be used as for monitoring the diseases. So, for example, if you remember the first figure that I was talking about, the sewage structure in the city. So if you can, and the way how this wastewater is collected and treated on site, if you can actually take the influent wastewater, then it can give you like everything about what is happening in the city. Obviously, we say the poor don't lie, so it can give you everything about your habit in terms of what, even your lifestyle. So that's what we do. We use the same concept here. We use the influent wastewater to look for the SARS-CoV-2 virus. So we formed, this is the South African COVID surveillance, environmental surveillance network that formed during the COVID-19 period. So because of the urgency of this particular area, we came as a group led by NICD and Water Research Commission of South Africa, and they developed and optimized a method for detecting this virus from the wastewater. And we were able to lead in this area in terms of like optimizing the droplet digital PCR for SARS-CoV-2 detection from the wastewater. So this is what we did. We selected, or we collected wastewater sample from 4 wastewater treatment plants within within Durban city. We were responsible for the KZN region, so selected the treatment plants within the region. And then obviously we monitored their progress over the time on a weekly basis. So I must thank some of our colleagues that's actually sitting here who went out, or who did that extra mile to go out during the COVID time to do this sampling when we don't know anything about this virus. So we were able to predict the waves, the second and third wave using our wastewater, mainly because the symptoms, for example, when a person gets infected by this virus, the symptoms only appear at a later stage. But obviously, this can be detected from the faces. So we started getting the signal even before the clinical symptoms started. So we were able to predict the wave at least 1 or 2 weeks before the clinical, the clinical data was out. So coming to another project, this is actually doing with the dairy wastewater, dairy farm within the country. So this is a collaborative project with the Institute for Natural Resources. If you look at South Africa, the dairy farm is one of the largest, or 4th largest industry, and it also estimates up to 4.5 billion liters of milk produced annually, and it is estimated that up to 10 liters of wastewater for every 1 liter of milk. So you can imagine this particular area is actually producing a lot of wastewater. But there is no proper treatment that currently practiced in South Africa, so it actually shows that it is contaminating our environment. So this particular project is actually looking at what is the status of the dairy farms in terms of how they treat the wastewater, and then later to characterize the wastewater and develop some technology to assist the sector to treat the wastewater. So we have selected 4 dairy farms and 4 dairy industry from this area, and done some preliminary analysis. Currently, all these farms are doing like a very conventional way of treating the wastewater. They're using lagoons or some kind of I'm not getting the term, but anyway, lagoons, and they're using this wastewater for irrigation. So obviously, it can actually contaminate the environment, even the groundwater resources, or even can leach into the nearby rivers. So we did some kind of characteristics in terms of the wastewater, and what we found that this is definitely exceeding the threshold that is allotted for irrigation. So currently we're doing some lab scale studies, looking at some feasibility analysis using different technology to see how we can reduce these contaminants or pollutants before we discharge into the environment. So before I close my talk today, I would like to just bring something about Sustainable Development Goals here and how it is related to water research or wastewater treatment. So we know, I don't know, some of you sitting here might have already heard about Sustainable Development Goals, which is set by the United Nations General Assembly. This is actually set to, the main goal of this particular goals is to actually end poverty, protect the environment, and ensure prosperity for all. So there are a set of goals that need to be achieved by 2030. There are 17 goals, obviously, and the goal 6 is actually speaking to the water and wastewater treatment. But if you look at here, this in the reality, this 6 is actually related to all other sustainable development goals. So if you can't achieve sustainable development goal 6, then very unlikely that you are going to achieve the rest of the goals that is set by the United Nations. So for example, if you look at the number 1, that is talking about poverty. When there is no water, there is no, definitely you cannot end the poverty. And for example, there will be a lot of marginalization that is happening in the city for the same reason. Then, for example, zero hunger, you need water for irrigation. Without water, obviously you cannot. So we need treated water for irrigation. So I can go on. So all these different sustainable goals are actually related to water resource or the water resource management. Then I just I don't want to go into detail into this report. This is actually done by our Department of Department of Water and Sanitation. And this is kind of a audit report that is done for our wastewater treatment plant and water treatment plant for the country. So this is a good initiative from the government side. They started in 2008 and evaluating to see, to check what is the function or the functional state of the treatment plant in the country, and the report is available online for the public to read. So unfortunately, what is happening, it started in 2008 and the first report came out in 2013, but unfortunately what is happening from 2013 to 2023 is the state of our wastewater treatment, wastewater treatment facilities actually decreasing. And if you look at from 2013 to now, almost like 75% of the treatment plants is actually put in a risk category. So it means it is not doing the job what it's supposed to do, and it's actually polluting our environment. But this is, like I said, this report is available online. People can read it. So with that, I would like to stop here, saying that we never know the worth of water till the well is dry. And before I close, I would like to acknowledge a few people here. I think I have a bit long list here. So I thank the Vice Chancellor and Principal Professor Thando Mtempu for the institutional support during this momentous occasion of my academic career, although he couldn't make this evening. And I also would like to thank our Deputy Vice Chancellor of RIE, Professor Nimafola, for his opening remarks, as well as also providing his support through the RIE department. I truly appreciate it, Prof. So I also special thanks to Ms. Azanda Gibizela and the corporate office team for arranging this event very well. And I'm also very grateful to Mr. Swakele Ngubane, the program director for today, for accepting my request without hesitation and for efficiently coordinating this event. Thank you. I would also like to extend my thanks to Keith and the DUT audiovisual team for their technical support today, and my special thanks and appreciation to my director, Professor Faisal Bugs, for giving the introductory speech and for all the support you have provided to me over the years in my research career. I am immensely grateful for providing me this, with all these resources, platform, and opportunity, Prof. You are truly a remarkable leader. And I also would like to extend my gratitude to Prof. Suren Singh, Executive Dean, Faculty of Applied Science, for agreeing to deliver the vote of thanks and concluding remarks, as well as for all the support I have received from him initially when he was as an head of the Department of the Biotechnology and as a Dean for Applied Biosciences. I greatly appreciate it, Prof. And at this juncture, I also would like to extend my deepest appreciation for the support I received from former DVC RI, Professor Sibu Siso Moyo, who has pushed me to strive towards excellence and played a critical role in my research and academic career at DUT, and providing all the support I needed in her capacity as a research director and DVC RI. And I also would like to thank Prof. Kiyomutan for her support at various capacities, and also to Dr. Venishri Govender and Dr. Bloodless from Research Office for their support. I also would like to acknowledge the contribution of Professor Tho Stenstrom, who is our former Sashi Chair and current Honorary Research Fellow in some of my students' research project, and his passion for research was always is kind of an inspiring for me as well. And Professor Puvi Reddy, I would like to thank you for you being such a wonderful collaborator, colleague, and also as a friend. It was always, and it is always a pleasure to work with. And Dr. Rawat, thank you for making that extra time for me. Your support, especially regarding managing all my projects in terms of the finance and legal, is of course is something I need to mention here. And I'm always, and it actually made my research life much more easier and made me to focus more on to research. Thank you. I also would like to extend my sincere appreciation to all my IWWT members, that is starting from technical staff to administrative staff. So I have a few to mention, obviously, is Karen, Sasha, Suyanka, Precious, Lundiwe, and Krivation. Thank you all for your support. I wouldn't have made it to balance my work without your support. So staff from the Department of Biotechnology and Food Science, especially the current HOD, Prof. Firoz, and the former HOD, Prof. Kugain, for all the support I received from the department. And I also would like to mention a few names, Ms. Samantha, Ms. Priscilla, and Ms. Sarla. Thank you for all your support during my initial days at DUT. That it means a lot to me. And I also would like to extend my thanks to the staff from various faculty offices, especially the Faculty of Applied Sciences, Ms. Kameshni and Ms. Jill, for their assistance, especially related to my student issues. To my postdoctoral colleagues and postgraduate students, I express my sincere gratitude for your invaluable contribution to my past and ongoing projects, even though it may be appearing at times that I am a bit persistent and demanding. My intentions were always to get the best out of you. So clearly your dedication and commitment have contributed to our collective progress. Thank you so much for that. And I would also like to extend my gratitude to all my collaborators, institutional, national, international, and industry partners, and as well as the funders from both national and international level. I also would like to thank my family back in India, especially my late dad, my late uncle, my mother, and my siblings for their unconditional love and support throughout my journey. So my extended family here, my uncle, Dr. Pillai, and auntie, Dr. Rukmini, and my cousin, Dr. Deya, and her husband, Dr. Avin. Thank you for always being there for me when I needed you the most. And to my angels, my daughters, Nandana and Nandita, thank you all for your sacrifices you have made, and for your understanding. I am always proud of you. And thank you to my friends, my icebreakers, for all the fun and support you have provided to me in my personal life, and some of them are sitting here. Thank you so much for that. And my husband, Santosh, without your honest feedback and willingness to challenge me, I may never have reached where I am now. Your support was so important for me to overcome these obstacles and persevere in the face of adversity. Once again, thank you for being such an incredible partner and father. Thanks to all the academic collaborators, colleagues, and students present here today, and also those who joined online. Your support in making this event is greatly appreciated. Thank you, one and all.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that deserves another round of applause. But if we can just stand, please. If we can just standing ovation. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Wow. Professor Kumari, Pillai, that was a lot that you've done. You've highlighted a lot of things that you've done, a lot of projects, and you're certainly deserving of this accolade and this honor that you're receiving here today. And I think you did such an excellent job of articulating quite a complex subject that it even started raining. You were talking so much about water and the challenges, and God just brought out the rain. He said, okay, let me just give you some rain. So I know I respect you as a professor. Thank you. That was really good. So we really do appreciate your contribution. On a more serious note, Prof, we appreciate your contribution. You've collaborated with many people. You've had a positive impact with your colleagues, both locally and internationally, which really resonates with what DUT is about in terms of Envision 2030. So you've done a remarkable job, and I think that you are a really good ambassador of what DUT is about, of DUT, through the amazing work that you do. And I'm sure the communities that you've impacted are also grateful for the wonderful work, because it's not just about the research in the lab, but it's also about the impact in the communities. And I think you've demonstrated that through your work. And so we thank you and we appreciate you very much. Thank you very much, Prof. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a Q&A session, but I'm going to allow for maybe 1 or 2 questions. If there's anyone with a pressing question, basically reflecting on Prof. Kumari Pillai's presentation, obviously this is also about engagement. I did say earlier on that such opportunities are really also for us to engage a bit. And so if anyone has a pressing question for Prof based on her presentation, based on the work that she's done, if you can please raise your hand and we'll give you the mic and you can pose your question. Going once? Oh, you're all shy now. Okay. Oh, can we please give the mic to Prof. Mutaung in front? She has a question.
She says I must just ask it here next to us.
Okay,
Thank you so much, Prof, for that talk. Mine is just going to be where now from here. And again, I could see that you had a lot of projects that you have done. When are we spinning one of them? I think you should be knowing what I'm going to ask for. Which one?
I don't know where to, how to answer that one, but yes, of course, we have a lot to do in terms of the research from the wastewater side, and in terms of your technology transfer. Obviously, we have done a few studies, and I think we also liaised with your department in terms of taking this technology and patenting it and rolling out. But we had some kind of a technical or some kind of a challenge there. But obviously, we'll be doing that one soon, Prof. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I trust Prof. Mutaung to ask about commercialization. How do we make money from all this research?
That's exactly what I was saying. Where are we doing it?
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Prof. Mutaung. I don't know if there's any other question. Okay, I think the presentation was very clear, very well explained, and so we're all on board, Prof. I'm sure all your students do amazingly well because of what a good teacher you are, really. So we thank you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, well, I was going to ask a question, but I think you actually covered it in your presentation. So again, just showing how thorough your presentation was, and we really do appreciate it. So ladies and gentlemen, as we draw towards the end of our program then, we're now going to ask the Executive Dean of Applied Sciences, Professor Suren Singh, to come up and deliver the closing remarks and vote of thanks. Let's give him a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Sheena completed the vote of thanks. I don't know what to say. Lucky I prepared something. Anyway, we had some Germans this week, and they were talking about African proverbs. So when I was preparing this, I thought maybe I'll just
something I picked up, and I think to encapsulate who you are and what you are and what you have achieved. So I hope everybody catches it, so I'm going to just speak to it. Everybody says women are like water. I think it's because water is the source of life, and it adapts itself to the environment. Like women, water also gives of itself wherever it goes to nurture life. And this was by a columnist in, if you Google it, Zhu Zinran. So the female connection to water goes far beyond the symbolism found in literature and legend, well past the traditional symbolic links between women and the tides. In the developing countries of the world right now, there are millions of women who are hauling water for their families from distant wells and rivers and lakes. And according to the United Nations, they walk over 6 kilometers a day, hauling several kilos of water to feed their families and for whatever means is required. In conflict zones around the world, from Darfur to Latin America, they are risking their lives to walk dangerous miles for water, and they are carrying life itself back to their families. So I hope, in comparison to this evening, we witnessed the rise of a young lady completing a PhD in Mangalore in 2008, who married Santosh Kumar Pillai in 2005, while he was completing his PhD at DUT from 2004. She then followed her husband in 2005, started as a postdoctoral researcher at the then CWWT, now the IWWT, gave birth to twin daughters, Nandana and Nandita, in 2008, and now, after 16 years, attained full professorship. Each step was marked by dedication, perseverance, and passion for advancing knowledge in wastewater treatment. And whilst giving us an excellent presentation this evening, she is the DNA of IWWT. Let's give her a round of applause. It is without any doubt that support from colleagues, students, collaborators, international collaborators, national collaborators, postdocs, all are instrumental in shaping the trajectory of this young woman. And I'm sure she is extremely thankful as she expressed herself this evening. And she had already thanked a lot of people. I thought it's important myself to express that as well. Firstly, to her husband, Professor Santosh Kumar Pillai from Biotech and Food Science, and the two daughters, Nandana and Nandita. And life could not have been easy for them. I mean, you have a mother that is traveling, she's going to plants, she's churning out theses and publications, and weekends may not even exist. So family and sacrifice plays a major role in a successful career, especially for the woman. And this also goes out to extended family in India when you leave home as well, especially a mom who's still alive and in India, and her friends and family who have graced the function this evening. We also honor her late dad. So I also want to, she has also mentioned our Vice Chancellor, Prof. Mthembu. He played a great role in terms of supporting Sheena. Even when she got those awards, he was there. And it was very important that even he saw Faisal's vision in terms of IWWT and where it was going to, and supported Sheena in terms of where she was as the 2IC. Prof. Nemavola, for assuming his position as the new DVCRIE, has rendered quite a lot of support in this short space of time, and in honoring Prof. Sheena this evening as well. To all the executive deans and professors and many staff at DUT, with whom Sheena has interacted and collaborated on many projects, a big thank you to all of you. The staff at IWWT, as she mentioned, Ismail Rawat and Prof. Stenstrom, and all the postgraduate students who played a major role, especially in all those publications and all those research-related topics. Thank you, and DUT is also grateful for your support. Professor Swalaha, the current HOD of Biotechnology and Food Science, your support and your own research in IWWT and your support for Sheena is duly acknowledged. The Faculty of Applied Science and the Faculty Office, and as you mentioned, commercially with your students, and the Faculty Office as well with Ms. Shackelford, who you referred to, as I wish to thank them on your behalf again. Our former DVC, RIE, Professor Sibu Moyo, who was very instrumental in taking the IWWT under wing and made it thrive. So I also wish to thank her dearly. Prof. Motawung as a director of TTI, and Dr. Vanesh Govender, who played a very important role in terms of Sheena's research requests and for the many years towards the Institute. Thanks to you on behalf of DUT. The role of all the funding agencies, NRF, WRC, TIA, DST, DSI, and DUT, for the investment into Sheena's projects is duly acknowledged. I hope if I missed out anybody, all funding agencies are thanked. There is one man who only has 3 research words. I know him for 40 years. One is quality, which he refers to as quality with a K. The other is impact factor. And the third is NRF rating. So we've been sitting on the Professorial Committee for, I think, over 10 years. He's none other than Faisal Box. So he still drives a Mercedes, so I don't know where his quality is. But I must say, Faisal, you have made massive contributions and investments as a director of IWWT, and you gave Sheena the space and opportunity to grow to a full professor. And this is testimony to ensuring women water power prevailed. So Sheena is, and I know is eternally grateful for your high-level leadership and mentorship. So thank you, Faisal. The logistics around this event are extremely critical to make a function of this nature a success. And I want to thank the program director, Swakela and Gobani, the corporate affairs staff led by Alan Khan. A special thanks to Asanda for all your help in terms of making this a success. Staff from audiovisual, led by Nelson Nunsam, and especially Keith, who's all over the place whenever there's functions of this nature. The Coastlands Hotel in providing a great service, and all other staff involved in arrangements. So as we come to the culmination of this inaugural lecture, may I acknowledge that we, the audience, are profoundly grateful for the opportunity to share the insights into your journey, Sheena, and your contributions made to the field of wastewater research. It was a privilege to reflect on all the milestones since you arrived in South Africa, and the research metrics speak for themselves. You are a membership of the Club 100 in excellent journals, and DUT salutes you for that. Your insights that you shared with us today and all the collaborations and dialogues and discoveries, for that DUT is eternally grateful as well. So, as we depart here, may we acknowledge this woman of power. And Prof. Sheena, the Faculty of Applied Sciences welcomes you to its cadre of 11 inaugurated professors. I added one from last week. And we wish you well, and may you continue to maintain your exponential research drive. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Suren Singh, for the closing remarks and the vote of thanks. And I won't talk too much about that comment you made about Mercedes and quality. We can have that conversation after. But thank you very much, Prof. Singh. We really do appreciate you coming through and delivering the closing remarks and the votes of thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, we can't close off today's special event without giving Professor Kumari Pillai a little something. We have to give you a little something to say thank you and just appreciating and acknowledging the wonderful work that you've done. So to help in doing this, I'd like to call on Professor Nemabola, the DVC RIE, as well as Professor Bucks, the Director of the Institute of Water and Wastewater Technology, to help in handing over a little something to Prof. Sheena Kumari Pillai. Please come up. Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that does bring us to the end of today's formalities, and we really do wish Professor Sheena Kumari K. Pillai well in her career as she continues to rise. And so we will be there to support and to witness the greatness that still lies before you. So thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we do appreciate you being here this evening. We know that today's event could not have been a success and could not have been as significant without your presence. And so we thank you very much for that. And so as we draw towards a close, I just need to indicate that we will be having something to eat a little bit later on. So please do not run away. Join us next door so that we can have a little something to eat and have conversation and maybe delve deeper into some of the subjects or some of the topics that Professor has really presented on this evening. So please do not run away. Please join us for dinner after we conclude this particular section of today's formalities. So ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to allow the academic procession to proceed out of the hall. So as they do that, we are going to ask the rest of you to stand, and as they exit, we are going to the next door. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes today's formalities. Please do join us for dinner next door. Thank you. And travel safe as you go home later on. Thank you.